This weekend, Canada's best curling teams will begin competing in Halifax for the right to wear the maple leaf at the upcoming Olympic Winter Games. John Cullen is a comedian, creator of the Broomgate podcast, and now author. Curling Rocks is his wry look at the game, those who play it, and those who love it. And he joins us from Calgary. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you too, Todd. Thanks for having me.
This is a funny read. Look, first I have to ask, in the book's bio, you're described as an award-winning semi-professional curler. Now, I didn't realize there was such a thing as a semi-professional curler.
Well, you have to realize, Todd, there's no such thing as a professional curler. So we have to start there. It's yeah, I mean, it's kind of a wry, like you said, a wry look at curling, and that's sort of how I see myself as well. I never was able to quit my job to curl. I won a lot of silver medals. Was never very good at winning the final, Todd. So that's how I would say the sort of semi-professional aspect comes into it.
Now, the sport you love, you call inherently funny. How is curling inherently funny?
I mean, how is it not funny? It's a bunch of small-town Canadians screaming at each other and trying to get a 42-pound rock down the other end of the ice, and we figured out the best way to do that was by sweeping the ice in front of the rock. I don't know how it isn't funny, to be quite honest with you.
You know, I think the humor of the game itself was certainly diminished when they took away the traditional broom, the whap, whap, whap.
Yes, 100%. We lost a lot then. We also lost a lot when we couldn't smoke on the ice anymore. That was a big part of it too. You had the corn brooms, you had the guys with cigarettes hanging out of their mouth.
Yeah.
They built ashtrays into the ice, Todd. I mean, that was definitely our golden era of curling being funny.
Well, it certainly has been elevated, right, over the last few decades, where it's much more. It feels much more like a sport than a pastime at the Olympic level, and certainly the big competitions. You can see them there now. They wear, you know, the competitors wear athletic outfits. Gone are the heavy wool sweaters and maybe some of the fashion sense that was originally with curling. No more tam o'shanter hats.
Yeah, we definitely gave up on the cardigans, the tams. You know, I think part of it, honestly, is, I say this in the book, but curlers are hot now. So, you know, if you're hot and you're strong and you got a nice body, you want to show it off out there. I feel like the cardigans, the shirts and ties, the tam o'shanters, those were hiding a lot of stuff more often than being, you know, sort of a suitable fashion choice. But now that every curler's in great shape, they're like, hey, take a look at how hot I am out here. Yeah,
and it certainly puts an emphasis on the sport and the skill, and it requires, I mean, being semi-professional, you would know this, it requires a real skill.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I think the game has grown so much in the last 2 decades. You know, when we think of where curling is now, even compared to, you know, it's a new Olympic sport, right? It only started getting in the Olympics in 1998. And so I think that, you know, just since then, the amount of skill the sport has grown. It is more of a professional sport. I mean, I joke about there are no professional curlers, but there kind of are now. You know, a lot of countries are putting a lot of money and time and resources into the game, and we're learning more and more about the game too. I mean, there was never really a reason to study the game before. We didn't even really know why the rocks curled or exactly what the sweeping did. I mean, I made a whole podcast about how it's only been about 10 years since we've really kind of figured out what the brooms could actually do. Right. And so, yeah, the skill level of the game is growing literally every year. This Canadian trials coming up, this Olympics coming up, will be the best curling you've ever seen to date, I think.
Yeah, Broomgate, and if folks want to hear more about that, you've got a great podcast, and it talks about sort of the revolutionary broom and how this team came out of nowhere to have such a successful record, and then everybody else wanted to know about it. In here, you know far too much about the game. You've managed to create entire teams, and not just a couple, but all kinds of different teams of players with the same name.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know too much about the game is also what my wife says to me as well. She says it's time to give it up, you know. But yeah, it's one of those classic sort of barroom things. It was like if you had to create curling teams where every curler had the same first name, you know, who would be the best team. And so yeah, I go through that for both men and women. I think a little bit helped by the fact that the sport has been played by mostly Canadians and mostly white Canadians. Or, you know, there's a lot of Kevins and Dons and Brads and Jims out there. Yeah, and Scots too, exactly, who have very similar names also. But the game's diversifying more now, which the game is better for that. But yeah, it was just one of those stupid thought exercises that I had kind of thought of one day and then thought, you know what, that might make a good chapter in the book, and there it is. So
you kind of touched on this, but the world seems to have come to curling. All of a sudden, there are many more. The Japanese field a pretty competitive team.
Yeah, South Korea, China, like Asia's really picked up on it. I think really what happened, Todd, is, you know, these sport federations around the world realized when they looked at the results at curling world championships, they went, okay, so Canada's always in the top 3, but then after that, there's not really like a dominant curling power. So if we were able to put a bunch of curlers together in our own nation, we could probably break through if we put a bunch of resources into it. And so, yeah, what a lot of these countries have done is actually converted athletes from other winter sports. Like the initial Chinese women's team were mostly converted speed skaters, and that's happening still around the world. But yeah, I mean, there's opportunities at the Olympics. There's now more money and opportunity in the game than there ever has been before. And of course, you know, where there's money, where there's Olympic medals, countries are sure to follow.
That's right. And, well, we'll be cheering for our Team Canada, whoever that happens to be after the tournament in Halifax. John Cullen, the book is Curling Rocks. It's a lot of fun. Stats that you wouldn't even know curling had are in here. So thanks for taking the time. Good to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Todd. Appreciate it.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more of your local news after this.